broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Greetings, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fans! We are here tonight to talk about Season 2, Episode 18, The Frenemy of My Enemy. Guys, oh my gosh, this episode was crazy. But before we get into that, let me introduce my fantastic panel. To my left, Steve Kaufmann.
Or am I just Jesse Klein in a mask? We've never
Agent 33, I'm telling you.
I didn't know you were a different person.
Most here don't.
I thought it was like a code name, like
I think
Quake or
I think
Deathlock.
those
Just Steve Kaufmann is Jesse Klein.
Those who confuse Jesse Klein with me and vice versa, I think they both just think we're really hardworking people. Like, God, Steve Kaufmann is here all the time.
You are committed. Where can people tweet at you?
They can tweet at me at Steve Kaufmann, Kaufmann, and it'll be hashtag ABTVShield.
Yes.
And I'll be checking up because I'm the one with the laptop.
Nice.
I've been nominated.
Awesome. Zach Wilson.
Yeah, you guys can tweet at me at that Zach Wilson, ThatZachWilson.
Joyce Ajouri.
And you guys can find me on Twitter at wrong.
What's your name?
I can't act and talk at the same time, apparently. Okay, JAJOURI, that is my Twitter.
And I'm Megan. You can follow me on Twitter at the Menguin. That's TheMenguin. As Steve mentioned, we are going to be checking the hashtag ABTVShield. And if you haven't already done so, please go to iTunes and YouTube and subscribe to AfterBuzz TV. Rate, leave a comment. We love hearing from you guys. In fact, we love hearing from you guys so much that we wear hats when we reach our rating goals. So tonight, for those of you listening to the podcast, switch it over to YouTube so that you can see us in our awesome fedoras.
We've got some pretty badass hats on right now, guys.
For anyone that's confused, it was a deal we made and you guys got us over 350 ratings.
So really, this is your fault.
If you don't like seeing us with hats, then give us more ratings and reviews, and we will stop wearing the hats. That's how that works, probably, kind of.
Someone's asking where the red fedora is already.
The red fedora is nearby. I just
right
like
there.
my white one. I haven't worn it in a while.
We may swap out.
But yeah, we're Agents of Fedora, or friends enjoying discussion of the real Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, yes!
I love it. Did you just come up with that on the spot?
He kind of did.
Before the show,
I watched him write it out like 5 minutes ago.
Fantastic. I love it. All right, guys. Speaking of just craziness, this was one of the climax of this episode was one of the craziest we've seen in the entire series so far. I'm blown away. What did you guys think of this episode?
At some point, I was a little confused. I was like, what do I make of everything that's happening, of everybody who's just about to meet in this one place? What is going to ensue? I didn't anticipate what actually happened.
I'll be honest, this episode was a little bit of a clusterfluff.
Yeah.
A good one.
I wrote a different word up on the board, but we won't say that out loud.
Well, the thing is, it's not that there was any event that I thought was like wrong or like really out of character. And I know some people in the chat roll are saying that they weren't sure about Ward's motivation throughout, and I have my own take on that. I actually think he stayed on his message, like on his motivation throughout the episode. But overall, it was just like an okay episode. Like it like moved plot forward, but as a single episode was like just okay. It was a little too insane.
There is a lot going on. It's an episode that fills you with a lot of anxiety because of all the character relationship stuff happening and the fact that everybody, absolutely everybody, is kind of at odds, and everybody is working off of limited information. And so when they actually do cross paths, it is just the word that you used that isn't the word I wrote on the board. So it's insanity is what it is.
But you need that, because at the end of it, Agent Coulson, I'm jumping way ahead, but at the end of it, Agent Coulson decides this can't happen. We're all against Hydra.
Yeah, they're the real enemy.
I'm turning myself in. I'm giving you everything I have, and we're going to be S.H.I.E.L.D. again.
That's assuming that's what his goal and motivation is.
It isn't. It isn't. I mean, it's never going to be that simple.
No. If he's taking a page out of Fury's book, Coulson's secrets are going to start having secrets. And yeah, so let's go ahead and talk about it, because this episode, it opens up with Fitz making his escape from his tail, which in San Francisco, I don't know about you guys, that San Francisco is the absolute last place I would want to be if I was having to run away from pursuers.
Especially if you're running uphill.
Yeah, no, there's just too many uphills.
Yeah.
I could
But
not
they
do it.
have to run uphill too, so maybe it's like a good thing.
Well,
Yeah, but they're trained agents. Not ones who sit in front of computers all day. They are athletic. But I really liked this escape scene because it was exciting at first, and then it was funny, and but it was still kind of that fun spy stuff. I thought it was a good intro to the episode.
And it also gave us an idea of the scope of Fitz's recovery. I mean, he's pretty much back to normal.
Well,
at
but
least to me.
They did do a good job in this episode of like they gave little pieces of him,
course.
I
slipping
love
up,
that
maybe.
moment where he's like got his hand on his gun and his legs just like going nuts.
He's
Yeah.
going crazy, fidgeting. Yeah. But he's come so far, and the beginning scene was a huge testament to that.
Well, and this was in the field. Like, he was never... The field was
Exactly.
never his strong suit to begin with.
And he was,
So he's actually
placed
come
in
further
his-
than where we first met him in the series.
And how good does he look in a suit, by the
Yeah,
way? He can rock the
yeah.
suit when he wants to. It's pretty great.
Although I'm pretty sure... I'm not an expert on men's fashion, clearly, because people are telling me this isn't a fedora. But it is...
Neither is mine.
It's
Yeah,
a fedora.
it's fine.
It's-
We work with what we have.
I'm
We work with
defecting
what
the
we have.
blow. You're welcome. But I'm pretty sure he could have got away with sneakers with a suit. Is that acceptable now?
Oh, man.
I think that's what we can do
I'm
now.
not a fan of that look, but whatever.
I mean, it's practical.
I don't know about San Francisco, but in LA, that's like par for the course.
Pretty much.
But you never know. Like he could have like S.H.I.E.L.D. issue dress shoes that are like totally good for running.
I could see that too.
Super lightweight.
I actually would think a spy agency would have to have that, right?
Actually, that
'Cause,
makes a lot of sense.
Like dress shoes are normally not good for running. They
That
are
sounds like
very
something
slick.
Howard Stark would have made. Actually, we just don't know about it. It's the same technology.
Where you don't actually run, you just kind of glide.
That'd be pretty great.
That would be awesome.
But that does bring us to our next point, is that the fact that they have to quote unquote recruit Ward and Agent 33, and by recruit we mean capture and then coerce into helping them. What did you guys think of Coulson's offer that's on the table to Ward, that he can walk away a free man after they wipe his memories if he helps them out with this one mission? Do you think that's in earnest, or do you guys think that they know that they're playing each other?
I don't think Coulson makes disearnest offers.
Yeah, I agree, but I'm you know what? I was a little confused by this though. What did he mean? Put him through the Tahiti protocol?
Wipe his memory.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what he
rid of all
means
the
by
bad
like
memories.
full. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be a fresh start is how he puts it, and that he can be the man he always wanted to be, a quote-unquote good man.
Okay, I was just a little confused because I'm like, the Tahiti, isn't that like
You're going to kill him and then bring him back to life?
That's what I
You
thought
want
too.
to.
Don't do that.
That's what I thought too, but then, clearly Coulson's memory was wiped during that time.
Yeah, they're referring to the protocol where when they did do this to people, they would then wipe their memory when they started exhibiting negative symptoms. They would wipe their memory, and that would seemingly take care of the problem. But right now, what they're talking about is just wiping Ward's memory so that he would no longer be a threat. He would not remember being a member of Hydra.
So really, it's an offer that will help S.H.I.E.L.D. and Coulson in the long run.
Theoretically, although I don't know, I mean, I agree with you. I don't think that Coulson makes it a habit of lying necessarily, but at the same time, even though Ward is not our favorite person in the world, he's done some terrible things, but he's still a valuable asset, at least with the knowledge that he knows, or knowing a guy who knows a guy. I don't know. I don't believe that Coulson would just up and wipe, be okay with completely wiping Ward's memory, because that's a lot of information lost.
But that was also the whole thing about this episode for me, was I was so torn as to what to think about what everyone's motives were in this episode. I mean, we have Sky, who had two different things on her mind to do, and we have May, who we thought was going to be trustworthy for Gemma, but clearly not.
This whole episode is about who you can and can't trust.
Exactly. We have the question of Ward, like, who was he actually going to continue with his motive, or was he going to side with S.H.I.E.L.D. or go back to Hydra? And then we have this with Coulson. Like, I couldn't tell at all.
Yeah, it's almost like, other than Coulson and Sky and Fitz, I don't know who to root for right now.
It was very strange that way.
And everyone around them could be working against them or for them. Like, I guess I trust Hunter right now.
I think you empathize with almost everyone right now.
And on the one hand, that's really good writing, because you see everything from everybody's perspectives. On the other hand, it leads to an insanity, and it leads to a lot of like we were talking about earlier, it leads to a lot of anxiety, because you don't know who to trust. And it's not that that's not good drama, it just makes it really frustrating to watch, because part of one of the strengths about this show, once it hit its stride, was how well this team worked together. And to see that team in shambles, it's so frustrating, because you know how good they are together, and to see them all apart and working at odds and not knowing if they can trust one another, it's very, very frustrating.
The trust thing is a great aspect, and it's a great aspect of this show, and they've used it really well. In this episode, like, it was just a little too much all at once.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you.
Yeah, and then, like, when they introduce, like, Bakshi going into like there, and we're like, he's supposed to be acting like he would, but is he brainwashed, or is he not, or like what's really? It's just a little bit. It gets a little difficult to follow at that point.
Yeah, especially if you're like us, who are taking notes, and then eventually we have to pause it and rewind to be like, because we missed something because we're taking notes and there's so much happening.
Yeah, but even following along closely, like, it's still a little bit.
I don't want to say convoluted, because that's I don't feel like that's the right word. It's just a lot happening.
Yes.
Yeah, it's actually very, because convoluted would say it's not clear. It's all very clear. It's just like, wow, you have 20 different characters, all with their own.
And it's all escalating very quickly.
When the episode is over, when the episode is over, you feel out of breath. You did nothing but watch TV, but, like, again, your anxiety is up so much.
While everyone was about to converge in the doctor's office in Milwaukee, I was like, wait, they're in Milwaukee too? Wait, who's coming now? And, like, we see the other group marching into the doctor's office. I'm like, what? How does this make sense?
Those Quinjets are fast.
Yeah. No, when Hydra showed up out of the blue in Milwaukee, I was almost confused, because at first I thought we cut to a completely different location, and it took me a minute to grasp, no, we're still at the same place.
Yeah.
We're at the same place that Cal and Sky are at right now. That was a little bit, it was kind of a little bit jumbled, I guess is a good word for it. But okay, and something else to kind of keep in mind, going back to Ward, is in the previous episode that we saw Ward, where he and 33 captured Bakshi, we kind of went back and forth on whether or not we thought Ward was being earnest in talking to 33 because he owed her his life, or if we just thought he was using her and keeping her around because he thought she would be useful. Here, they're playing it. They're playing it up like he's being nice guy Ward, like he's like, oh, don't worry, one day we'll have another home, it's gonna be beautiful, all this other stuff. It's like
BS.
Yeah,
she's a means to an end to him, and he's just so damaged emotionally. That, like, in that scene with Fitz where he was like, Fitz, how you doing? Ugh. Like, that's genuinely, but in his mind, like, that's genuine professionalism. But it's like, yeah, I put you in a pod to die. That's my job. What's your job? Like, your job is to be in that.
How's your job go?
Your job was to get out of that pod. Congrats. How are the kids? Because that's the world he grew up. That's the world he grew up in. He's just always that, like, soldier in this world that like something's just broken in his brain that it would be. I think Tahiti might help.
He's a sociopath.
Yes,
is I think the proper definition of it. Or I think Hunter called him a psychopath. So I guess that whatever category he falls into is up for debate.
And at Ron Corleone 423 says, "Redeem Ward. That's something I can't get behind. If Ward ever gets a lanyard, I quit this show."
Yeah, no, and I don't think that they're trying to redeem him in any way. I think he's going to remain a villain. But right now, Coulson having to team up with him, we were talking about that looks terrible for Coulson when he goes to the real S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, yeah. As soon as Simmons is like, oh, yeah, I'm going to hack into Deathlock's feed so you can see that, like, Coulson's
you just know.
Oh, no, he's going to be standing right next to Ward.
They're going to be taking a selfie. It's going to be the most inopportune time.
Well, because even if they'd gotten in a little bit sooner, and it's like when Bakshi's, like, on the plane, like, they hack into Deathlock, and there's just Bakshi standing there, like, talking to the list.
Yeah.
And by the way, we got a Baron von Strucker name drop in this episode.
That's a thing that happened.
So he's officially in charge, like one of the two people in charge of Hydra now.
Yeah.
After they killed that whole room.
I mean, we've seen him on the big screen already.
Yeah,
in that post-credit scene.
Is this the first time they've mentioned Strucker by name? Because I know that they've mentioned List before.
I feel this is the first time they've mentioned Strucker.
They've mentioned List. I don't think we've actually heard the name Baron von Strucker or Strucker
we only knew that was him
on screen to this point.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that is the thing that happened.
For those of you who aren't familiar with Baron von Strucker, he was the guy you saw in I believe it was the Winter Soldier post-credit scene.
Yes.
With Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. He's a classic old school Captain America villain. Who's always been big on Hydra, and so like as soon as they showed him there, it was pretty clear that like this is gonna be big.
I actually got the biggest laugh I've ever gotten in my life, and it was unintentional. It was at that post-credit scene. I was watching Captain America probably the second or third time at a cheaper theater, and that happened. And he did that, and he was like, "We're in the age of miracles, miracles, miracles." And at one point, when the room was completely silent, I went, "He can't say mutant." And I got that reaction just with 300-400 people in a theater, because they're all people probably watching it for the third or fourth time, so they're the same type of. Yeah. It's like, they can't say mutant.
Well, that was an interesting point that they dropped, that Hydra is collecting power people.
Yeah, they even in this episode we found out that kid Ethan, who was off on his backpacking trip, that he's gone missing, and it's
worse.
Yeah, so it's conceivable that this poor kid was dropped off somewhere and then immediately grabbed by Hydra.
Do we know what his power was?
He hadn't transformed yet. But he is on the path to transform.
Well, he's like waiting to be
selected.
He is of Inhuman ancestry, or descendant, whatever. But he hasn't been exposed to the Terrigen, so he's not Inhuman yet.
Yeah, no, not yet. But it doesn't matter. He might be dead now. And actually, you know what? I wonder if he is dead, because at the very the first time we see List in this episode, he's looking at a cadaver on a table, and we don't see who the body is.
We saw the face, though.
Was it Ethan?
It wasn't Ethan. We saw the face. That was the only thing we saw, and his mouth was gaping open.
Was that Ethan?
No.
Shoot.
No, it was just another guy, right?
He looked much older than Ethan.
Did he?
Well, let us know, guys, because again, we missed a couple things clearly. So let us know. Was that Ethan? And if it wasn't, where do you think Ethan is? Do you think Ethan's dead?
I'm going to say Ethan somehow found fast track to be exposed to Terrigen Mist, and maybe it was through Hydra. I don't know.
Well, if Hydra's the one that stole all those missing obelisks, because somebody has them.
That could easily be an option.
It's not S.H.I.E.L.D. It could theoretically be New S.H.I.E.L.D., but I doubt it. It could be Hydra, or because it's not Jiaying and Afterlife. It's either Hydra or another faction of Inhumans
that we haven't seen yet.
I think he's still alive.
Or one of the two S.H.I.E.L.D.s, which this real S.H.I.E.L.D. or the newer S.H.I.E.L.D. that's looking to encapsulate the old S.H.I.E.L.D., like I've said this before, that has to be funded by Stark. That has to have Stark money. That reeks of Stark money.
Well, we thought that. We were saying that for a while, but with the revelation of how they're operating and who's running it, it seems unlikely because it's counterintuitive to the very nature of what they're preaching.
Fair
to
enough.
have backing from somebody as powerful as Stark.
Well, the other thing about that is that this new S.H.I.E.L.D., even though they preach transparency, they have just as many secrets as the old S.H.I.E.L.D. So all of that is nonsense, so I don't trust them either which way. So it would not surprise me if they had at least one obelisk. But in all honesty, what I see as being the more likely thing is that it is Strucker who has, again, at least one of these obelisks and is using it to experiment on different people. Because whoever he was experimenting on or either him or List was experimenting on in the beginning, whether that or not that was Ethan, whoever they are, they're dead now.
Definitely
and they're
dead.
not the first
Clearly
dead
dead.
person.
Yeah.
So,
And there's body bags with the Hydra logo on them, which I would like one, please. You have the
The
address.
chat roll believes
Do you
that
want
it
to
was
be
Ethan.
in one,
Yeah.
or do you want
I mean, again, it would make
4,
sense,
5?
and we just missed it. But so it would make sense if Ethan was dead.
But the more important thing is that how they found him, because they have a way to trace Gordon.
Yeah, they
Gordo.
What did they call it? They called it quantum entanglement.
Yes.
And that is how Gordon is able to transport himself anywhere in the world.
Quantum entanglement, or BAMF.
It is pretty cool.
I have to say.
Yeah, no, that's one of the coolest powers I think you can ever have.
Yeah.
is
Oh, that's just the
teleportation.
sound that it's always whenever Nightcrawler teleports in X-Men
just
comics.
bam.
Yeah, the sound, the little instead of pow, it's BAMF.
I was like, badass mofo?
No, it's way nerdier
But it's
than
still
that.
pretty Bamf, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah. That's the best power. Teleportation's one of the
it's
best
great.
powers out
Yeah.
there.
That's like that would be my likely power, other than mimicry. Mimicry would be my favorite power.
Shape-shifting?
Well, no, the ability to mimic other people's powers. It's kind
That
of a
would be
cop out.
cool.
That's like wishing for more wishes.
Well,
Yeah,
it would be cool
outta
under
here,
the
you
assumption that you
Zach
know
Quinto.
people with powers.
Fair
if
enough.
you don't know anyone with powers, you have a really, really sad power.
I'm a sociable guy.
But
I wind up
anyway,
on panels I'm not officially on.
aw, we like having you here. It's great.
No, I'm excited about that.
No. Okay,
yeah.
well, we should probably move on. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about in terms of like the real S.H.I.E.L.D.? Actually, I do want to talk about something. I want to talk about Simmons and May because oh my gosh,
I almost forgot about that.
yeah, no, this is something that we can't forget about because this is one of the things that really hurts to watch because Melinda May says that this isn't about picking sides, it's about the truth. And given that we learned her backstory in the previous episode, we can kind of see where she's coming from. On the other hand, it seems really convenient in terms of the plot to just have her do an about face because out of everybody on the team, I always thought that she was the most loyal to Coulson no matter what. And, one or two things that quote-unquote real S.H.I.E.L.D. says, and now all of a sudden she's totally okay with working kind of against him, but for him at the same time.
I feel like she was more entrapped than anything else. That this was her way. That her way of being loyal to Coulson would be to be from the inside and be trusted to help him get a fair shake.
Yeah, I think she's sort of seeing the aspects of maybe he is unstable, but at the same time it was a very quick.
No, it was a very
it
quick
was too
turnaround,
convenient,
and she wasn't up front with Simmons. Simmons straight up, having not been privy to May's plan, did what she would have done in any other circumstance had they been captured by anybody else. And so when May comes forward and says, after telling her I'll handle it, and then coming forward and saying I told on you, that is a huge betrayal of trust. If she had really wanted to do that, she would have taken Gemma aside and been like, look, this is how things are operating at the moment. This is what I'm about to go do, and this is what it means, and this is how we have to play the game if we want to figure out what's going on.
I was going to say, she definitely seems like she has a bigger plan, that this was all part of it, and if she broke Gemma's trust, it's temporary. I mean, Gemma's going to find out, if she does have a bigger plan, that it's for their own good.
Yeah, I guess the problem is that Gemma like went and did this, like sent the toolbox away.
Yeah.
And May's like, oh God.
I was thinking that. I was like, if there's one thing that's going to stop May from telling Gemma everything about her grand plan, it's going to be the fact that Gemma just blurted out what her plan was with the box.
It's just frustrating because we see Gemma kind of going with this back and forth, and then when she finally is 100% on Coulson's team again, that's when May starts to flip-flop. And it's like, can't we all just be on the same page for 10 minutes? Is that too much to ask?
Yes. Well, when you have two different shields going against Hydra, who is just like their management structure is a gun to everyone's head. Like their management.
It's a Mexican standoff.
That's their management structure. It's a Mexican standoff all the way down.
Weren't they in Mexico?
Yes.
When that happened?
At one point, yeah.
Mexico or Culver City.
Culver City, yeah. No, they actually, I've been in that restaurant before, and I saw exactly where I sat in that scene.
Nice. Yeah, no, that was cool.
I've been there.
Although, speaking of that kind of gun pointed at everybody's head, that's how Hydra had their, bureaucracy structured, was literally having a gun to everybody's head. At a single text message, a head of Hydra can be lopped off. Or in the case of several text messages, most of Hydra's gone.
Yep.
Yeah, the last thing of Hydra was not cut one head off, cut 7 heads off, and 2 shall take their place.
There are 2 left. Good job, Hydra. But that's the thing, is that we can't have S.H.I.E.L.D. acting like Hydra. That's not the way the quote-unquote good guys are supposed to work.
Yeah, it's just that everybody right now seems to have their own plan. Coulson's got a plan, May's got a plan, Fitz and Simmons have a plan, but nobody's talking, so nobody's on the same wavelength, so it's causing problems.
I feel like
everyone.
Coulson and May are close enough that whatever May's doing, Coulson knows that plan.
Maybe.
That's where I think they are.
She's either a wonderful actress, which the actress who plays her, it really is. But I'm saying Melinda May is either a very good actress, or she really is having second thoughts about Coulson, and that is just, it seems out of character. That's the thing, is with everybody on all these different plans, there are times where it feels like these people are acting out of character, and I think that's what's kind of rubbing people the wrong way.
Yeah, this is an interesting point. A Green Claw Demoness in the chat room. In the chat room says the showrunners feel like everyone has a good motive. And
they do. It's very interesting.
It's certain characters that we can't quite see their motives right now. Like May, we don't really know what she wants right now. But Ward, on the other hand, I would say Ward has a very clear motivation behind everything he's doing. Even when he is trying to help, I think whatever his reasons are, whether it's the Tahiti protocol is good for him, I kind of think it might be he's sort of just out for himself. That's his motivation. Ward is just 100% out for himself. So even when he's ready to turn over Deathlock, I think he was 100% ready to turn over Deathlock to Hydra. And that wasn't really him betraying Coulson. That was you want to get to Strucker.
This is how you do it.
You have to loot. You have to sacrifice an asset to do it. That's just how it has to be.
It's like you guys said earlier. We're kind of seeing everyone's point of view in this episode, and we're kind of empathizing with everybody. We may not agree or understand what's happening, but we can clearly see,
it's exhausting.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily bad or good.
Yeah, no, and that's part of the point. I think that's good writing, but yeah, it is exhausting.
And Griffin in the chat room just said something I think we all need to understand, is that the Marvel Universe is about to explode. Just accept it. In the next 2 weeks, Ultron is gonna, I think, take over all the Iron Man suits, I think, or have his own.
That's the other thing.
And
all
destroy,
of this is going to be a moot point in about 2 weeks.
Yeah. This was our last episode before. No, next week.
We got one more.
Next week. Okay.
There are some people watching it right now.
Age of Ultron. Yeah.
Crazy bastards.
They watch.
They're going to be confused if they're watching S.H.I.E.L.D. also.
They are.
So we're winning.
Either that, or they're just going to know exactly what's going to happen on S.H.I.E.L.D. But before, I do want to mention Bobby and Mac really quick. Just because there was just one scene of the two of them sparring, which how cool are they?
Yeah.
Just,
They're pretty cool.
They're pretty hardcore, and I like that was the setting for this. But even they're having second thoughts, and they're going back and forth on whether or not they can trust Coulson and whether or not like their team really is in the right. So even the people who betrayed us a little earlier, or betrayed what we deem as the real S.H.I.E.L.D., even they're not sure they're doing the right thing. And I think they're even more confused when they do find Coulson at the end of this episode, because I don't think that's how they were expecting to bring him in.
Yeah.
And someone brought up a really good point on Twitter. I'm looking up iTunes ratings, so I don't have it right now. But do we think it was Coulson? Do we
Like it was actually Coulson and not like a mask?
No, do we think it was Kara? Do we think it was just Kara and then everyone else left?
I don't think so, because Kara can impersonate a man with her mask, but
Her body
doesn't change.
Yeah.
Just her
She
face.
can get around
'cause
that.
She just has the face mask.
Yeah, but Coulson's sleeves were rolled up.
Yeah.
He
Put his
got
hands
hairy
up.
arms.
He put his hands up. He stood up. I mean, it was. If it were Agent 33, disguised as Coulson, she would probably be really covered up.
Which I just going back to 33, I like kind of seeing her. She's kind of back to herself, but she's still 100% loyal to Ward, but she doesn't appear brainwashed anymore. She looks like she's in control of herself again.
She's definitely still
a little warped.
maybe not brainwashed per se, because she's not like Hydra, like I comply and all that, but her brain is still all kinds of messed up. Like she's not back to where she was.
Yeah, I just liked the way that she said, "I don't work for you anymore," and that to me was more of a personal statement than it was kind of a warped, brainwashy one. But I don't know. I could be maybe misreading that.
I did really love her moment with Mike, where he's just like, "You got any more of those masks?" Because he can see under her mask, how all the scar tissue and all that, and you see him like with his face just like burned to hell.
Yeah, he's just like, bummer. At least I've still got my winning personality. Which I love Mike in this episode. That's one other thing. I wish we had more time to talk about it, but like he was just spot on with the comedic timing in this episode, and it was the minimalist approach too. He could just say Ward, and it would be hilarious.
Yeah.
Or when they picked up Fitz, it was just so much fun. And that's why I'm so disappointed that he's been captured, because I love him being a part of this show.
Yeah.
And not being brainwashed or controlled by, what was the group that Grant Ward, it was kind of Centipede? That was it. I was like, was that the name?
Yeah.
That was so long ago. Back before Hydra was a thing again. Good times. Anyway, we should, really quick before we move on, we should probably talk about iTunes. Folks, thank you so much for going to iTunes and rating and leaving comments, because that's why we're wearing fedoras tonight. It was because of your support. We passed 350 ratings.
362.
I think we can do more. Yeah, we've got 362. I think that we can make it to 400 before the season's out. I think it's possible, and I think that if we do that, I think that we should wear the hats again at the bare minimum. Do you guys think
What you gotta do?
Power.
Someone asked me where my whip is. It's actually in the car. I'll bring a whip.
I'm uncomfortable around you now.
Sorry, you guys don't keep whips in your cars, whatever.
But we should definitely come up with something to do when we hit 400, because I think that they deserve it.
I will come in a suit and tie and aviators.
Ooh.
Like a true agent
Like
of S.H.I.E.L.D.
This is the closest thing I have to a suit, but yeah.
A dress up?
We'll get an Avengers onesie of whatever suit and wear it on the show. I promise you this.
Could be a onesie, or her universe just put out like this like epic new Marvel line today.
Well, we can talk about that when we get more to news and gossip.
Done.
But yeah,
Let's do this.
they've got
I'm
some
into
adorable
I actually own a Captain America costume.
Amazing.
That, I was Captain America for Halloween.
Onesie. Oh no, costume, onesie, suit.
I guess I could go buy
We'll
it.
just cosplay. We're gonna cosplay.
We're all gonna cosplay how we
One way or
feel.
another.
iTunes is not pulling up the actual
You know
ratings
what?
and reviews, but 362 of you have given us a 5-star rating.
I think I've got
have some stuff?
iTunes. Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about Let's go ahead and give some shout-outs. Not only the best AfterBuzz show I've seen, but one of the most genuinely enjoyable post-show recaps I've been able to find by JM_Farley. I love TV show and podcasts by Evan M120. Thanks for the outlet by Ping Jockey 63. 400 exclamation point by Mama Little 7. And Mama Little 7 says, "Come on 400. I'm most interested in Sky's mom." The Making of a Great Day Listening by Meme4E's. Great After Show by Zippy. Great Show by Lone Spar. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. AfterBuzz podcast by Kitten Cole 25, and Kitten Cole says, "Great show, love it as always, keep it up," and then a bunch of smiley faces. A great S.H.I.E.L.D. podcast by Mike in MN. And awesome supplement by Mop Jockey, who says, "Great hosts that help my understanding of what's going on." Marvelous panel by Beat Ga. And yeah, that's what we've got so far. So thank you guys so much. It means the world to us when we hear what you guys think of the podcast. It means the world to the people who work behind the scenes to bring you not only our show but all of the AfterBuzz shows. That's over 100 hours of content every single week. It keeps the lights on. It helps us stay on the air. We really appreciate that. So thank you guys. And yes, if we get to 400, we will cosplay. I don't know how to cosplay, but we'll do it.
What are we doing
Get a onesie.
or you dress up like your favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe character and then do the after show as if you're that character.
Oh, so you cosplay in character.
So if you're Thor,
real confusing.
So if you're Thor, you're just, I don't understand the screen with the moving images.
All right.
That's all
All right, we still got lots to talk about
We do.
in this
Okay.
episode.
We haven't even touched on Jiaying and Cal and Sky.
That whole thing.
And that is a huge portion of this week's episode. So yeah, let's go ahead and talk about that because they're all still kind of thinking about dinner, and Jiaying, regrettably, even though she doesn't want to, she knows she has to send Cal away because he's not one of them, and that, of course, would be favoritism, and the Inhumans are kind of racist in and of themselves. They're very elitist, and they don't see Cal as one of them. I would understand if they viewed it as a safety issue because he could go berserk at any moment, but it's not even about that. It's just the fact that he's not like them, because none of them are concerned about, that's a lie. They are concerned about Raina and Sky, but not to the extent that they're like, okay, get them out of here. So it's frustrating on the one hand because I think actually he's safest there. Like, that is probably the least harmful place that Cal could be right now.
Yeah.
Because if he stays there, he's not going to want to cause trouble. He's going to want to stay on his best behavior.
Plus, everyone with their powers already developed can easily stop him all at once.
Well, I'm not sure. Like,
you don't think so?
We haven't seen the extent of his abilities yet. We've seen the aftermath of what he does, but we've seen very little of what he's actually capable of.
We've seen him get the shot and be fine. Like, he's pretty powerful. Because we don't Lincoln has some pretty a pretty offensive power, and Sky does too. But Jiaying's power is not battle ready. Like, she can just take a punch really well. And we don't even know what everybody else can do there.
Yeah.
It could be that he could legitimately just destroy that village. I think it's also comes down to rumors and gossip in there.
Yeah.
We don't want to have to worry about people talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But Jiaying's solution is essentially dropping him off on the side of the road and not caring what happens to the civilians when he starts throwing a temper tantrum. So Sky decides to go with him to kind of soften the blow. And that ends up being the most awkward father-daughter day ever. But at the same time, it's still really touching and sweet and tragic because he keeps wanting to walk down memory lane.
This is the first time I've sympathized with Cal.
Yeah,
this entire series.
I was getting a little choked up. Maybe it's just father-daughter stuff gets to me, but I was getting a little choked up when he's talking about stuff that they can never do.
Yeah, and when Sky talks about Cal has memories, he knows what he lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really rough thing. Is it better to have never known what you could have, or is it is it just like living in hell to know like this great thing and have it ripped away from you?
Yeah, and this is the first time that we see Skye actually embrace and sort of want to welcome her father, if only for a little bit. So it kind of made me feel like it was okay for me to sort of accept him, if only for a moment.
Well, and we find out, too, that it wasn't even really about softening the blow. It was about allowing S.H.I.E.L.D. to detain him. And because Skye doesn't know all this stuff that's going on with S.H.I.E.L.D. right now. She just knows. Yeah.
Her motives were neither good nor bad, right? I mean, she was looking out for him as well as herself and her team.
Because she didn't want him to hurt anybody when he found out the truth.
Her mom doesn't really have much regard for, or so it seems.
Yeah, Skye had all the best intentions. Like, I want to break it to him easy. Like, look, if this has to happen, like, this is the best way to do it.
Let him down
but we got to be
gently.
real careful. And, like, okay, so you're not going to let me be careful. I got to tell S.H.I.E.L.D. And then she finds out that's all gone.
Yeah,
real bad
no,
too.
that's and who knows what even she's aware of in terms of what happened still, because Gordon came in and grabbed her as soon as she saw Coulson, and then she sees Coulson with Ward. That doesn't answer any questions. That just brings up lots and lots more questions.
She doesn't even care. She's like, there's tons of stuff going on now. I can't even process this, you
I'm gonna
guys.
throw this away. Just wait.
I was actually shocked that she ran into Coulson's, like, she was like, oh my God, Coulson, and actually approached him. Was like, you know Ward's right behind him, right? Did you see
didn't
Ward?
care.
Well, we actually have a question from Alyssa Lopez on Twitter. If Hydra is honing in on Gordon's power signal when he drops off, why haven't they honed in on Afterlife when he goes back?
I mean, that may be where
we're
headed.
going next week.
Yeah.
So.
I do have to give like a quick mention of this moment where she finds out like it's just his name, Cal Johnson, and I'm like the one like ha, I get it, and then she says it out loud. She says Daisy Johnson, which again, comic just insanity. Is Daisy Johnson is the like actual name of Quake in the comics. So like because that character was never named Skye, her name was just always Daisy Johnson.
Yeah.
Yep, it was a misdirect all that time. All of season 1 was a misdirect. But yeah, so again, it's just kind of a heartbreaking thing to kind of see their day together completely fall apart in the middle of this crazy action climax when Hydra and S.H.I.E.L.D. come to a head. And then when, faux S.H.I.E.L.D. comes in at the very end there, at the very tail end, because they are far behind everybody else.
Yeah.
And then Lincoln and
Who wants to be a
Deathlock.
part of that S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Which I love Gemma's sass, by the way, when she finds out that she was kind of on her own, that she actually can't trust May. Just the amount of sass that she gives is just great.
Yeah.
But anyway, you were saying that Deathlock and Lincoln both get captured by the worst possible people to get captured by, especially for enhanced people.
Yep.
So that's not good for them.
No.
It's the exact opposite. of good.
Negative.
And what's worse is they're losing Deathlock, and like S.H.I.E.L.D. and like Coulson's operation aren't getting any close to Von Stroot.
Perhaps
Strucker,
Hydra's goal with taking, well, obviously they took Lincoln and Mike because they were there and they could use them for anything, but perhaps Afterlife isn't detectable and they're going to use Lincoln somehow to maybe get to them. And I'm referencing the question you got on Twitter, so that was just something that popped up. It's a thought.
All right. Well, we are running short on time. Is there anything else you guys want to touch on for this week's episode before we go into news and gossip and then predictions?
No, let's move into
Yeah.
that stuff.
Let's go ahead and talk about some news and gossip.
AfterBuzz TV News.
So big
Oh my
news all the way around, guys. There's so many things to talk about. We've got the Her Universe line of Avengers clothing, which is so cool. Go to Her Universe online. They're on Twitter.
Yeah, that's cool. That's
all
cool.
the things.
Great.
You guys get really nice
the other
dresses.
thing to talk about is that they have writers for the Captain Marvel movie. Those writers have been selected. That's great.
Also very cool, very exciting.
Also very cool is we have casting news for the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. spin-off. Hunter and Bobby are going to be in the spinoff.
Rumors.
Whatever it is.
That's the rumor anyway. It
That's the
hasn't. No
rumor.
one's confirming it.
I mean, it's on Deadline though.
Yeah.
It's a rather confirmed deadline.
Deadline is confirming the rumor.
Yes. They're confirming that it's a rumor.
Yeah,
This
basically.
is going to be a romance show.
Which
Well,
they said that they kind of want it to have a Mr. and Mrs. Smith vibe to it, and that supposedly the end of this season will kind of be the jumping off point for this spinoff. So wherever Hunter and Bobby are at the end of this season will presumably lead into this new show, into this new spinoff.
I wonder if, because like there's the setup last week was that Coulson has been like putting like bunks together and like all this stuff, in like he's like building this like
An armory.
secret
and
little
everything.
like world that other characters could populate.
Backup S.H.I.E.L.D. facility.
Exactly. So my first thought, and this is a little bit blending into predictions, but is Secret Warriors, which in the books is Quake. Who else is there? It's like a bunch of other characters that are not at all in
Agents
this.
of S.H.I.E.L.D.
But I think Hill is involved, if I'm not mistaken. I don't have it in front of me.
It's a possibility, and so yeah, that's something that is definitely a possibility. But we know kind of that Hunter and Bobby will be involved in whatever this is, and it sounds like they're not going backwards. That we are going to keep moving forward.
I hope so.
But still, I want a consulting credit for that because that was one of the ideas that we were spitballing.
I'm only on board with this show if we still get Agent Carter.
Yes, that's the other thing.
If we
Yeah,
don't,
that's what these hats are really for, you guys. Hashtag renew Agent Carter.
yes.
But I guess I am like tentatively on board. I mean, Hunter's fun. He's funny. He had a nice little Monty Python. Like, at least it felt like a Monty Python because he's British. When he's like, it's just a flesh wound. But.
No, they're fun characters. They're great characters. But there's a lot going on in the Marvel Universe right now. And it's kind of like, okay, especially after an episode like this where there's so much going on, it's like, okay, well, where are they going with this?
There's so much going on. There's so many shows. Like, we already have the 5 Netflix shows. Daredevil's getting a season 2, another news bit from today. So we have Daredevil season 2, a.k.a. Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, The Defenders. There's rumors of a Miss Marvel show being developed.
That's the other thing.
For
is
Kamala
that
Khan.
That is another rumor that's circulating, going around right now.
I love her character. Oh my god. Even I'm like, slow it down, you guys.
I am all for a Kamala Khan Miss Marvel series, though.
Oh,
I would watch that TV
I'm
program.
all for it. Let's wait a few years and like.
No, I'm tired of waiting. We need a female-led one right now, and I can't wait for Jessica Jones.
We're
Give
just
it to
getting
me.
inundated with Marvel.
Mockingbird.
Yeah, no.
Or hashtag hunting bird, you guys.
I loved that. That was great.
Well, guys, again, we're really running short on time. Do we have any other news and gossip before we go into predictions?
No?
Yeah, no.
That
guys,
wasn't enough for you?
I know, it's so much news. So, guys, let us know. What do you guys think of all of the show rumors going around, and what do you guys think of all the other news that's going on? Let us know. We love hearing from you guys. But, guys, let's go into predictions.
please. Hashtag renew Agent Carter.
Now, your AfterBuzz TV.
Is that that's your prediction? You just used your prediction.
Is that it?
You're
Is that all
done,
I get?
Steve.
You're done.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and throw one out there because it was just Coulson giving himself up. The rest of the team was nowhere to be seen when he threw his hands up. So I think that they're off somewhere else awaiting his orders. And I don't think it was like a misdirect, like it's actually Agent 33 who turned herself in. I genuinely think it's Coulson, but I think he's got a power play in mind and that they're going to end up having to work together. And yeah, I think that there's going to be... I think there's going to be a thing at Afterlife. So that's going to be very interesting to see how that all comes out.
Yeah, I think Coulson's going to them basically like, look, this is about to get real.
Yeah.
I need backup. If you don't like move on this, like we're all gonna be in trouble. Hydra just got, like picked up an Inhuman and Deathlock. Like, this is real bad. So let's go work together. We'll figure out our personal problems after, but let's stop Hydra.
That's my thought on Coulson right now, too, that he's like, you can put me in a cell after we stop Hydra.
Yeah.
Like, I could see that being verbatim something he says.
It's like, let me just do this one last job.
And we saw that Ward is also in a cell.
Yeah.
So,
Well, no, I think, was that a flashback?
That might have been you're right, he had a beard.
seemed
That
like
might have been a flashback.
It definitely looked like when he was in that little tiny room that was impenenetrable.
I actually
Because
just watched that episode again recently. That was, that's like...
Yeah, I think at this point, Skye wouldn't empathize enough to sit in front of his cell
Fair enough.
again. But I understand why that'd be confusing.
Not to mention she's not there. She's back at Afterlife with Cal and Gordo, because like Cal like jumped in. He's like, no.
Yeah.
So yeah, and Cal, he's gonna throw a temper tantrum when he gets back because
Yes.
he's like, "You were going to drop me off in the middle of
And
nowhere."
we don't know.
Things are
Real
going to
bad.
happen. I think that a lot of crazy things are going to happen, including Afterlife and Jiaying. I feel like something is going to happen in Afterlife for sure, and it might include possibly Skye's mom dying once and for all, and maybe at the hands of Cal again, and he can't save her this time.
I don't know about that. She seems pretty resilient.
Well, not if we've got Hydra involved.
That seems necessary.
I think you would have to basically... she's like Wolverine in that you have to like completely destroy
You would have to
her.
throw her into the sun or something.
Exactly.
Yeah. But
I feel like something major like that's going to happen.
Whatever happens, again, I worry about it being a moot point after Age of Ultron. You know, to where like everything that's been coming to a head just gets scrapped in the wake of whatever devastation that Robot and his army leave us in. But anyway, guys, we are out of time. Do you guys have any final thoughts on this week's episode or on what could happen next week?
I think they're going to cripple Hydra within the next 2 weeks.
Oh yeah,
Cripple
fair
and-
prediction. I also think maybe because I didn't expect Skye and Jiaying to kind of butt heads a little bit, like at all. So I feel like maybe that'll continue and it'll get worse and worse, and something horrible will happen between the two of them. So
I can definitely see that happening. All right, guys. Well, that basically does it for this week. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, thank you so much for going to iTunes and giving us an excuse to wear hats. Please go and give us an excuse to wear costumes as well.
And
give
if
us an
you have-
excuse to cosplay.
And if you have suggestions for every 100, just tweet them at us. Every 100, like if 400 is cosplay, 500 should be. Let us know.
Yeah.
Don't give them that kind of power.
That's what the guest does.
Anyway, thank you guys so much. Steve, where can people go if they want to find out more about you?
People can find me at Steve Kaufmann. That's Kaufmann. I'm on a lot of shows here at AfterBuzz TV, and I tweet about them fairly regularly.
Zach.
You guys can tweet at me at that Zach Wilson, ThatZachWilson. And you can also catch me tomorrow night talking about episodes 3 and 4 of Daredevil here on AfterBuzz.
Yeah. Joyce.
you guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at JAJOURI. And if you want to catch me hosting a few things here and there on YouTube, go to youtube.com/MakerGen.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm Megan. You can follow me on Twitter at TheMenguin. That's TheMenguin. I'm also on a bunch of shows here at AfterBuzz, including starting this Sunday, Orphan Black. So be sure to catch that. Cool. And I also have been writing articles for the movie Chick. That's Chick with 2 Ks at the end. So be sure to check those out. Folks, thank you so much again for tuning in. We will see you guys next week. Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
See you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.